Hello and welcome to the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Katharina. I am coming to you from the north of Germany, and this is a knitting and slow fashion podcast. Welcome to my little corner of the internet. I haven't been here in quite a few weeks. I think in over 3 weeks, maybe almost 4, which is definitely longer than I anticipated. But my kids are on summer break, so yeah, I have 3 kids. They're in kindergarten and in school. My middle child is starting school this summer, so we're in full-on summer break mode, where school break is more stressful than actual school days. But I'm looking over there because that's where they're playing. I'm also very grateful that we don't have to now worry about all the appointments and being at school every morning on time, because that is quite a hassle, and all the sort of infrastructure that goes with like school days and kindergarten days. And now we can just I wanted to say relax, so my kids can relax, and and we can go on sort of as usual, but with a more relaxed schedule, and that's fun. So I was really looking forward to that, because the last weeks of school were hectic, because they were packed with appointments and parties and celebratory events of all sorts, and that was fun and good. But in all honesty, it was more stressful than Advent, and I was so looking forward to not having to worry about that anymore. So here I am, back for what it's worth, with a handful of little finished objects and my works in progress, so I can show you and talk to you and just keep you a little bit updated and just keep the conversation going, because I really wasn't planning on longer breaks between videos again, but I mean, such is life. I'll just see how it goes and how it works out. Okay, I have a bit of a stiff neck, so if I kind of rotate a little weirdly to the side, that's why. I can jump right in with my first finished object, and if you've been here on this channel for a while, you may have seen this before. Otherwise, this is the first, because these have been hibernating for a long time. So I'm talking about socks. So my husband always says how I go on and on talking about something, and then at the very end, once he is totally lost and confused, I tell him what it's actually all about, or what I'm going at, and he tells me I should put this up front and then start my tangent. So I'm talking about socks. So there are 2 of them by now. This is the Rainbow Connection Socks pattern by Cave the Crazy Sock Lady. I love it because it combines these the slip stitch motif with vertical lines and then the horizontal lines, and the way they come together, I think, is very neat. And I've knit many of these, so I've knit this pattern plenty of times, and this is my latest iteration. So, and I had one of these finished, but somehow, I don't know, I didn't, and it wasn't even when I was last on a sock kick, sort of, but before. So they've been laying around for quite a while, and I think I had just cast on the cuff for the next one, but I still got second sock syndrome because I just didn't go on, finishing them. So recently I couldn't fall. That was it. I couldn't fall into a rhythm with a new project that I would really knit on monogamously and for like a longer stretch of time, and then also see my progress ever since I put down my habitation throw that I can link for you, but I've had this feature in a handful of episodes. So and then I wanted, oh no, what is happening here? One sock is bigger than the other. Oh, I know what that is. I'm going to talk about it in a second. So I put this project aside, and now when I was in that little bit of it was like a baby slump where I really didn't fall into a rhythm, like I said, with my other projects, and I wanted something to just like a little project that was pretty mindless. I thought of these and I pulled them out and I thought I have to finish them eventually. Now please ignore that one is bigger than the other, but these are them. And I finished the second sock, and it is not a big deal. It's not a big job. It's just a sock. And like I always do, I wondered why I didn't do that earlier, but it was waiting for the right time. I'm not desperately in love with the colors. That's a factor. And yeah, maybe that was it. I don't know. But now they're off my needles. And now that for the first time I'm holding them together, I can see that here the foot is only slightly longer, just about a centimeter, which isn't that little. But and here, oh man, yeah, well, you can't see. What happened here? I can tell you what happened here, because the pattern, while the pattern is absolutely lovely, really lovely, what happens with the slip stitches on the front, because naturally they don't have as much give. I mean, they do, but the pattern is still, I mean, it's constructed in such a way that the sock sort of curves in the back, because there will be a little bit more fabric here, and then it pulls to the front. And I've had this happen on the other socks that I knit as well. You will not notice when you have them on your feet, but also after, you know, having given them a wash, it was always kind of that effect, that they were a little bit bended like this. Not so much with this sock, maybe because this is non-superwash yarn. I'm going to talk about this in a second. But on the second sock, I think what I did is, because the slip stitches work with yarn overs. Can you see that? So you create elongated stitches with yarn overs that you will then slip. And I made those looser so as to counteract this sort of curling in effect. And it worked out, because it almost doesn't happen. I can see it a tiny little bit, but that's okay. And that's what made them a little bit longer. So I was thinking of gifting them, but now I assume I have to keep them. Okay, that's okay. So the sock yarn is, Mondim, the Mondim sock yarn, in the speckly yellow and this blue color, which now I don't know. I'll put it on, I will have already put it on my Ravelry page, and this, oh, by the way, as everything else that I talk about is going to be linked down below this video, where you can sort of click on all sorts of Ravelry links, or links that I talk about, or links to things that I talk about, like shows or I don't know what, products. And these links will take you everywhere to get, you know, the information, such as what colorways these are. But this is Retrosaria Puma Mondim sock yarn from Portugal, non-superwash. It's going to be very warm, and they're very squishy. And if I keep them for myself, nobody will ever know that one foot is slightly bigger than the other. Okay. By the way, I'm also, like today, I'm finally again positioned in my garden under the walnut tree, which you can see that, you know, shade behind me. That's our beautiful lush walnut tree, which, by the way, doesn't seem to be carrying any walnuts, except for, like, I think we've spotted 2. This may either be because we hit a frost. The last frost came very late in spring, when it really affected the tree, which is why in the beginning it wasn't as lush, but then more leaves came and it filled in, but many of the leaves died in the beginning, and maybe that was a crucial phase for the fruits. Or which is what a neighbor told us, that walnut trees don't carry fruit every year. So do any of you know about that? If so, please leave a comment below. I haven't done my research yet, but as I'm sitting here now, I wonder. It could, of course, also be that it's a kind of biannual sort of situation. But yeah, but I for the last few podcasts I've sort of cried about not being able to sit out in the garden under the tree, and today I am able to do it because it's going to be very hot. There is wind, thank goodness. I hope it's not disturbing. I hope the microphone doesn't pick it up too much. I mean, I put that outdoor thingy on it that is supposed to stop the wind, but you can still sometimes hear. So I hope it's going to be okay with regard to like the audio. But now we live in a part of the country where there is wind most days, stronger and less strong, but there is always a little breeze, and that is a really good thing during summer. So, okay. The next thing that I finished, or maybe it was before the socks, I don't remember. It's been a few weeks, is another set of dishcloths. I showed you one last time around, and now I have two more. Oh, it's again a blue and yellow combination. There you go. There was pink on it. And then the same blue and, not pink, but salmony pink that I also knit last time. There you go. I just was in the mood for another small, portable, no-fuss project that I wouldn't have to refer back to a pattern for, something like that. I just love this color combination so much. I showed you last time or the time before, and so the other that I knit, which was slightly bigger. I knit the other until there were I think 46 stitches at the widest part, and I think with this one it was 41 or 42, which doesn't seem like a big difference, but it makes a big difference. And maybe I'm going to gift this, and this one definitely I'm also going to gift, maybe those two together. This is just like a yellow and blue that I had in my cotton yarn stash. These are all going to, not all of them, but most of them are going to be Sistrene Grenes cotton yarns that I always use. Anna and Clara's 100% cotton, organic. So these are Ecotex certified, and they come in many colors and very fun colors. So if I purchase new cotton yarn, it's usually this one, and it's going to come to you in a different project in a minute as well. And I think this blue, for instance, that was a leftover that my mother-in-law gave me. So there's also mystery yarn in here, but that was my these were my little, that was just a little portable project. I knit this on a 4.5 millimeter needle. Oh, by the way, I knit the socks on a 2.25. Should be a US size 1. I have to look it up every time, which is crazy. Was denn? Hallo. Was los? Okay, kannst du machen. So yeah, that's sorry. I was just talking to my son who came running and talked to me about what they're playing. So this was knit on a 4.5 millimeter needle, and I used my Symphony, what's it called? Knit Pro, Knitter's Pride Symphony needles, the exchangeable ones. And for my socks, I use a 2.25 millimeter needle, which I think is a US size 1, but I don't have my little card with the conversion on it with me now, so I'm not sure. The 4.5, I don't know what that is, US size 5 or something like that. So, oh, ouch. That was another little project that I had on my needles. Ow. Goodness. And then I have a little crochet project to show you. I have begun to crochet little coasters, essentially. It looks like this. I'm going to show you up a little closer. Okay, kann ich? Yeah. So I came back. I have a little audience because my son is now behind located somewhere behind the camera, and he's looking at me the entire time, which is a bit weird, but he wouldn't want to go. Anyway, so I have crocheted this little coaster. So I'm planning on making these, so a handful of these, like, I don't know, just a few more, for basically for my birthday party, because this year, and my birthday is in late September, we're going to celebrate both my birthday, and this is also going to be sort of our housewarming party. We're going to put these two sort of occasions together and have friends come over and just have what I hope is going to be a garden party. And if the weather doesn't hold, we're going to have to go inside into our, goodness, what is that called? I'm going to put the word on the screen because I will think of it, but just not now. Like, we're going to go inside, but not into the living area, if that makes sense. And anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we're going to have to put up some tables, and I wanted to put flowers on them, or like in just tiny little vases, or and use this as a coaster because I wanted to have something handmade on the tables, but something small, because these things take up a lot of space and then nobody can sit anywhere and put their plates, and it's just going to be a mess. Or if I don't put flowers on there, I have the image of little jars, like these little glasses, like jam glasses or something like that, and you crochet around them, and then you put a little candle inside, and then it's just like this beautiful little candle holder, and you've loosely crocheted around it, like with a lace motif of some sort. So that looks really fun. Maybe I'll do that, or I'll do both, you know, and like put out, you know, I don't know, 4 of these with a candle and then 4 of these with flowers, I don't know, but something along those lines. And I mean, the hurdle for me is the crocheting part, because I cannot crochet too much or else my neck will really hurt and I'll get a headache. So I can only do, you know, crochet in really small increments, and still it often hurts, so I don't want to put on too big of a crochet job, but I would love to crochet around some of those jars because that could be really fun. And I've been wanting to do that for a while, and I was inspired by Ellie of Little Drops of Wonderful, and she has in the past shown this on her podcasts or vlogs, possibly, that she has these little jars that she crocheted around and you put a candle in, and it looks so lovely. Anyway, so these are my thoughts. And so they had to be small little things that you can put on a table, and they are not in everybody's way, and also small in terms of manageable to make, you know. So this one I finished yesterday. I just crocheted 4 squares that have sort of the same color palette but not exactly, and then I played with how to join them. Sorry, there was a tractor going by. I wanted to connect them with the join as you go method. So which means you basically crochet around each square within that granny square style, and then around the next, and then you learn how to crochet the one edge onto the other so that you cannot really tell, but they're all connected, which is perfect for if you're making a blanket or, you know, something like that. And I did that with this light pink color and connected 2 granny squares that way. But what I figured is the actual granny square with its 3 colors gets completely lost. So there was a whole lot of pink and just some little color in the middle, and there was no definition to it, and it looked really lost and just not like I wanted it to look. So I ripped back, and then I tried to join them as I went with single crochets. It did work and it looked nice, but it wasn't what I wanted, and it also looked a little bit sloppy. And in the end I opted for just mattress stitching these together, and I just that means you kind of just weave them together, and then you pull, and the the yarn sort of that holds them together disappears and they will just hug together like this. It's not a perfect job, but it's good enough. And then I crocheted around in that pink color so as to hold it all together. And that I think works just fine. And that is one finished object as of yesterday evening. And then I have another, oh, here I can show you this method a little bit, but you will know what I'm talking about. So this is going to be the next one, and I have all the ends sort of dangling. Anyway, just trying to ignore that. So that's going to be the next. And I have gone across here so as to join these. And if I pull them apart, you can see I hope you can see. See? You can see this dark yarn. Once you've really woven them together and you pull tight here, it won't show. I mean, except for when you pull it apart, but who does that once the coaster is finished? And then the next thing is I'm going to have to join these together in the same way and weave in all of those ends and then crochet around. And I will crochet around in this color, in this blue color. That is the second circle here on this square. A circle on a square, but you know what I mean. The second color on this red square, that's the one that is going to sort of tie it all together. And that's how I'm just going to proceed, you know, over the months, because I mean I have, goodness me, almost, yeah, about 2.5 months. Yeah, pretty much 2.5 months. So I will crochet one of these whenever I feel like my neck can take it. Okay, I'm back. I had to run inside to do something for the kids. Now I'm back. So I crocheted this on a 2.5mm hook. I don't know which one this is. I think it's also Knit Pro, Knitter's Pride. And again, I don't know the size that this would be in the US. It's a small hook. Anyway, so, ouch. And the yarn, oh, this is going to be the color that goes around that I was hinting at before. This is going to be the color that sort of ties it all together. And this is again the one that I've shown before, right? The Anna and Clara's, whatever. I think it's color 19, this one. It's a little weird with these. but yeah, that's the cotton yarn that I'm using for it. I love it. I think it's amazing. I also have another, now that I talk about crochet for like decoration, I have a boho bunting, I think it's called, like a garland, where you put like tassels on them and in the middle there goes a wooden bead or something, so it goes like in the direction of a sort of a boho style. I have made one of these in the past, but a few years ago for my goddaughter, and I at the time started one for myself as well, or for us, to put up as decoration around the house, but I never finished it for some reason. It was probably hard on my neck, but I pulled out this project and I have intentions of finishing it, even if it's only a small garland, like if I have 9 of these or something like that, so that it's just like, I'm just going for an uneven number of these finished thingies, and then I can put it up somewhere and it's going to be a nice decoration, and after we can put it up someplace indoors. That would be fun. I hope I'm going to get around to doing that as well. Maybe I have to go, Natalie of what's it called, Love and Stitches, of her podcast, who really makes a plan. Like maybe I would have to chart out one little crochet thing that I do every week leading up to my birthday, one little increment that is not going to stress my neck too much, just so as to make sure I get around to finishing these things, without there really being a problem. Is that there's a spider. Maybe that's the way to go, because yeah, I mean that, ow, that would make sense. Sorry. What a day to podcast. Oh man. Maybe that's what I have to do. I'm not a planner of my making usually, because I intend to just, you know, understand my knitting and crochet as the slow craft that it is. And I think in our lives that are so hectic and go 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 all the time, incorporating such a slow craft into your everyday, which is what I do, is very healthy and a good sort of counterpart to all the craziness and busyness and speed. So for me, that's knitting, you know, and also crochet for what it's worth. But maybe here I have to be a little bit strategic so as to also, you know, get that project done that I really want for my birthday. Because I realize now we don't often throw parties, but whenever we invite people, I like for there to be something handmade, and that just brings me joy. And I like to have something handmade, so to kind of, I don't know, put my handwriting on things a little bit. And so I really want that for a party, and maybe I will have to just project plan a little bit for every week or every 2 weeks or something like that. Anyway, rotating around like an old lady. I pulled out another project from hibernation, which is living in my beautiful, happy fringe supply bag with my little squirrel and seagull on here as it's upside down. And my monstera plant and my knitting around the world pin. Thank you to the ladies who gifted me some of these. You know who you are. Hi. My husband actually gifted me this one, the monstera, that he got at a plant store, and he thought I would love it, and I do. I pulled out from hibernation a sock project that I have shown on here not too long ago, but then again, it's been a while. And that is a scrappy sock project, which I have to pull in shape for you just real quick. I knit two socks at the same time, but just on 2 needles. So I knit 5 rows here, 5 rows there. And I pulled out, maybe you remember, probably you don't, I pulled out a whole bunch of really small sock yarn leftovers. So no superwash merino, but real actual sturdy sock yarn. And that's what I produced with that. So just like honest scraps, small scraps, even smallest. I'm looking into the sun a little bit, I'm sorry. And I knit these in here. This is what the back looks like. So there you go. Right, so I put my heel in, just a heel flap and gusset, nothing fancy. And I put stitch markers in just so as to mark every 10 rounds so that I wouldn't get lost, because it's hard to keep track on where you are in terms of, am I at the same level sort of as with the other sock with scrappy yarn, because you know they won't exactly match, which is the entire purpose, but also a little bit the challenge, you know. So that is one, and this is the other. There you go. On the back. Ooh. So as I hold them next to each other, you can see that again I did what I always do. I split the leftovers, like this is obviously the same, these are the same, this blue is the same, or these are actually 2 different ones, and you know they sort of coordinate but not quite, and I'm further down on this foot than on the other, so that's just why they don't match exactly. But it's, you know, I roughly like I didn't weigh the scraps or anything. So you can see that this bit is so much longer, this stripe, than the corresponding one on the other sock, which is why I put another leftover in to sort of reach the same height. You know, I just go for it, and when I think now it might be time to cut the yarn, I cut the yarn, and then whatever is left goes into the other sock. So there is no stress about anything at all. These are just scrappy socks. They bring me joy, and I put them away, and I forgot about them. And then I was looking for, because my other project that I'm going to show you in a second, that is my main sort of, has been my main project since I last spoke to you. I wanted a little break from it in terms of, I didn't want for it to be the only project, because it was, I have to just look at it when I work on it, and I have to make sure I don't, you know, pull up my shoulders, and because it's a slip stitch pattern, and I had to really relax consciously, you know, into the project. And it wasn't a project that I wanted to knit on every night, because I realized it was I was getting a little tense around the shoulders. So I wanted to just have socks to go around and around and around. And the only sock yarn that I still have that is sort of caked up, 3 balls, all beautiful, but they're Christmas yarns, and I just wasn't feeling it quite yet. I want to save those for September, October, you know. So yeah, I pulled these out. I found them in my yarn cupboard, and I thought, oh yes, right, never finished these. So I thought, and it, of course, I was like up to here, right? I was just about to finish this stripe, and I'm put in the little variegated or speckly thing right here. So stupid really, because they're almost done. So I'm going to finish these, and I'm going to be so happy, and maybe I'll gift them. I think I will. I think I'll gift them. It'd be a fun gift, you know, a happy little gift. So they're knit on, oh man, they're knit on 2.25 millimeter needles. Again, that should be a US size 1. This is a Chagu red lace, and this isn't. Yeah, but it's the right size. I was worried for a second that it was a 2 millimeter needle, but no. This is my Knitter's Pride Zing, Knit Pro Zing needles. Same needle size. And I cast on 60 stitches, and I went for a 2x2 ribbing for 14 rounds or something like that, for as long as I can bear it, because I'm not a ribbing sort of person. I usually, after 14 rounds, I really tire of it, and then I'll just stop with the cuff. And then I switched into a 3x1 so as to give it structure and have it hug the leg. I don't always do that, but I prefer doing it. And this is just my little leftover that I'm knitting into the sock. And then I just went for it. And I keep this 3x1 ribbing on the back of the foot. Is this the back of the foot? Yeah. So on the instep. And on the sole, I'll just have a plain stockinette. And that's just what I'm doing with these. And I'll finish soon and have these off my needles next time I speak to you, I hope. Also, I'm running out of leftovers, so yeah, that is one of my works in progress. And leaning over like an old lady again, this is my next. I'm sorry, this project is still housed in this paper bag, so it crinkles. I'm sorry. I will quickly grab something and cut it out and then show you. So for reasons of yarn management, I will first show you my colors that I'm knitting with on my Vellicore. I'm talking about my Vellicore. These are them. So this is a dark gray, a very light gray, a sort of an oatmeal-y color. Yeah, it's almost a gray that has a little bit of beige in it, but not quite. And so it's a cold color, I would say. And then this light pink. Okay, I'm gonna put them away and cut. These are the tags. So it's Isaya Alpaca 2 yarn. Hold on. There you go. Hope you can see something. And the color 4S is the gray. The color 61 is this light pink. And the light gray is an undyed yarn. That is their eco line because there is no dye in it. And this is color number, oh maybe you could see it here, E2S. Okay, I'm going to put the back down and I'm back. Okay, now I have shown you this project last time that we spoke, and it might not look like I've made a lot of progress, but it feels like I have. It's, let me tell you, just as a PSA, if you want to knit this, I mean, I suggest that you do, because it's fun and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous to wear. I also highly recommend this yarn for this project if you can get your mitts on it. However, just know that it is A, slip stitches, so it takes forever. B, it's fingering weight yarn. It's even light fingering weight yarn. It's even thinner, so it takes forever. And C, it has quite a bit of positive ease to it. So I mean, you can knit it snugger, but I think the part of the fun is the shape. It's an Andrea Mowry pattern, the Valacor vest, so thankfully there are not going to be sleeves. Yes, but it's going to be, you basically knit a rectangle and the what is it? The neckline. And that's what it looks like. I don't know if you can see the contrast. This little light gray, maybe in the sun. That's where it is. So yeah, I love this so much. I've told you before, like I've knit one of these in a sort of rusty orange color, and as the main color, which is now the dark gray, and then I want to say brown color, but not brown, like also from this eco line, like a heathered brown color. And then the stripes were also light. They were sort of a cream or white. And that was beautiful, and it was fun to wear because it's just light as air. But it wasn't my colors at all, so I gifted to my friend Francie. Hi. And on our next trip to Denmark, which is now also almost 3 years ago, I bought these colors to knit another one for myself. And today I would have gone with the pink as the main color, but I knew exactly the quantities of like each color that I would need, so I got them. So there's no way I can now change it up, and it doesn't matter. Also, like I said, this white stripe or gray, this light gray, is not a very high contrast, so it's hard to see, you know. I mean, when you know it, you see it, but when you don't, you might not. But okay, that's what it is. I don't care. I still love it. When it's soaked, it will stretch a tiny little bit more, so it's not as scrunched up. And I had, I think, oh man, I wanted to put a stitch marker in, but then I thought this is so easy to memorize, so to remember, I will not forget, and now I forgot. I think when I last podcasted and talked to you, I had gotten to the first gray stripe, or the second. Maybe it was the second. And I was under the impression that these sort of repeats, so 5 pink stripes and then 1 gray, light gray, they don't take as long because it only took me like 3 days. So I thought I can rush through this project. Of course, I was wrong, because I had not accounted for the fact that, or just thought of the fact that I had more time on my hands over these 3 days than I, usually have. And also, it is a little hard working on this exclusively, like monogamously, because I mean, I said this last time. With slip stitches, for me, there is no rhythm. It is just stop and go, stop and go. Slip stitches are not fun for me to knit because they just hold you up. And I can now feel, last time I said I would absolutely knit this pattern again. I don't know, because I mean, it's a labor of love a little bit. It's not to say it's not fun. It's also fun. But, there are parts of the pattern that I don't want to give anything away, but there are parts of the pattern that are more fun than others. Let me just put it that way. So I have now 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 of these repeats completed. I need 7, and then I can split for the sleeves, and I'm gonna have to knit 3 more repeats on front and back. So I'm almost halfway through. I'm almost exactly halfway through. That's good. That's good. But now I've said that, you know, the slip stitches are annoying and also hard on my shoulders and so on and so forth. But I have thought that, because my daughter the other day was sitting right next to me when I knit, I don't know, a half a round on this, and she said, because I'm making a point of now over the summer break, just taking 5 minutes here and there to just sit and knit. And it is so good. It is so good. It's the secret to everything. But she admired the pattern. She says, this is so fun, and this is beautiful, and so soft, and blah, 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 and the color is so nice. And I thought maybe it'd be fun if I made her one of these. So there you go. Obviously in a much smaller size. I mean, she's 3.5 years old, but she's tall. Okay, my kids are all tall. And I would obviously go for I mean, there are no kid sizes in this pattern, but you can just do the math. It's an easy pattern to just, what's the word? Can't think of it now, but like to accommodate, to just make bigger or smaller, you know. What is this? So if I just cut a handful of these repeats and just shoot for, I don't know, this width, then I might be fine. And I can do the math. I can just measure her and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it'd be fun. It'd be fun. Maybe it would be a fun Christmas gift. And then it could be a little matchy-matchy, which I'm not one for matchy-matchy necessarily, but it might be cute. And I could go with these colors or with other, I mean, this is alpaca, but I have other alpaca yarn. And if I use up some leftovers, I don't have a lot of different alpaca yarn, but just a few. I think 3 more colors, something like that. And if I used all of those together, I could make a bit more colorful for her, which would also be good, and maybe not take gray as the main color, but maybe I will. I don't know. I'll just, I'm finished with this, my plan is now to just pull out all of my alpacas and just see what I see and maybe cast on one of these for her, because it might be fun. Yeah. It's a possibility that I currently entertain, but I give myself grace to say, no thank you, and let's just let it go. I don't know, is that how you put it? But I just allow myself to change my mind. There's nothing set in stone. But yeah, oh, I knit these on, what's the needle size? Come on 3.25s, which again, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is in US sizing, but yeah, that's what it is. That's how far I've come. Oh man, and now I have the fluff all over me, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's my Bellicore. That's what it's called. I love it. It's a huge recommendation. If you love slip stitches, you're going to love this. I'm not so in love with slip stitches, and still, from my perspective, sort of powering through. And I want to have this off my needles for fall, and I will. And then, but at the same time, I'm sort of pondering what I could knit next, like which sweater I want to cast on next. And I want to knit a real cozy fall sweater during summer. I don't care. It hasn't been that, it has been warm and it has been hot, but not for super long stretches at a time. We have had, June was rain every day, so which is fine by me, but there's going to be a bit of a warmer summer coming our way, I'm sure, but I'll make it so that I can still knit my my fall sweater, because I'm one of those people who I don't care. Even when it's hot, I want to knit the things that I want to knit. I'm not going to knit with cotton just because it's hot outside. So, okay. I'm going to knit with you for a minute, but let me just put one stitch marker in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right here. So then I'll know how far to knit on this sock. In stockinette or 3x1 ribbing as I chat to you, because with the Velocore I have to look down so much that it's just no fun talking to someone at the same time. So I'm now transitioning over into my Netflix segment, sort of. So I'm just going to talk about what I've been watching, and I have just recently, that's the last thing I watched, I've rewatched the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma movie, because you know the thing about summer weather is when it's really hot, I watch certain movies, just like for Christmas when I watch certain movies every year, and the Emmas are summer movie material for me, for sure. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't watch them any other time of year, but when it's hot, it's Emma time. Emma is my favorite Jane Austen story, and but the adaptations, I have opinions about adaptations, okay? And I'm now referring to the Gwyneth Paltrow one, which I don't know the year that it was made. What is this? Shoot. So I guess you're not going to knit with me, but we're going to untangle yarn together. So the Gwyneth Paltrow movie I hadn't watched in a long time. Then there is the 2005, is it? So the mini-series, which is honestly my least favorite. It's fun, I'm going to watch it again, but it's not really Emma for me. Neither the way that Emma is portrayed, nor Mr. Knightley, whom I have very strong opinions about with that mini-series. He's not a Mr. Knightley, and I'm sorry, it's probably a wonderful actor, but it's not the real, it's not a good cast. He is not the love at second sight that he has to be. No? So I managed to untangle the mess and to talk to my son, so it's going to be a lot of editing for this one, because for this episode, because it's so many interruptions. I'm sorry, but anyway, I'm just gonna have to be quick. The one that is my absolute favorite is, of course, the 2020 Emma movie directed by Autumn de Wilde, and Johnny Flynn is Mr. Knightley, who is a love at second sight. He is the perfect Mr. Knightley there. The one that of the Gwyneth Paltrow movie, I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow is perfect for Emma. She really is. She really is, like, perfectly cast. And it was fun seeing Polly Walker as Jane Fairfax, which I don't know that I think Polly Walker really is Jane Fairfax, but she is Lady Featherington in Bridgerton, right? So that was fun seeing her in one of those very, like, from my perspective, early roles. I think Jane Fairfax in the 2020 version, again, is cast better and better captures her ways. But Okay, and the Mr. I don't have a lot of like I cannot really critique this Mr. Knightley except for a handful of things. Except that he is a love at first sight. You always know these two are going to end up together because he's the obvious choice and he's so good looking. So that doesn't work for me. And the badly done indeed scene, you know, after Box Hill. I mean, it is really not good in the miniseries. Man, it's such a hassle to get the kids to leave me alone for just 5 minutes or an hour. What was I saying? That I think that Mr. Knightley and the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma movie is too obvious a choice, and that in both the miniseries and the Gwyneth Paltrow movie, the badly done indeed scene isn't strong enough. It's just not strong enough. And in the 2020 movie, it is bang on. He really screams at her, which the others don't ever do. And also, she often yells back. So they have a dynamic that is also a little bit funny at times. But so Johnny Flynn and Anya Taylor-Joy, but he's also so disappointed in her and really crestfallen for how badly she behaves towards Mrs. Bates, and that really shows that he is really hurting because of her behavior. And that is just such a beautiful moment in the 2020 version. And so while Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, is a perfect cast, with the others, I'm not so sure. I mean, Mrs. Bates in Gwyneth Paltrow movie is also very fun. That's the Morning Myrtle, right? That's the actress. I don't know her name now. But anyway, so I was rewatching this particular version, and now I will go back to my 2020 version, which I adore. And I know I've said this often, and I will say it many times again. You know, it's just a wonderful movie. It's just so good. And oh yes, and also another thing that I'm not really happy with is the casting of Frank Churchill in the other movies. Like the 2020, I think, casts him wonderfully because you kind of like him and you don't. Yeah, you like him and you don't because he is a little bit shady, and he's also so wrapped up in himself, and he's obviously playing some sort of game. But in the other movies, like the Ewan McGregor, Frank Churchill, that's his name, with Gwyneth Paltrow, yes, is sort of fun and kind of works, but he is never, I think, a real option that you think you're never really Team Frank Churchill over Mr. Knightley. Also, Mr. Knightley's affections for Emma are too obvious in the Gwyneth Paltrow version, whereas it kind of strikes them at the same time, right? It comes like a lightning that they realize, oh, I'm actually in love with him or her, which is again what happens in the Autumn the Wild adaptation, but not so much in the other two. So yeah, I'm not so happy with Frank Churchill. And in the miniseries, he is a weird character. Like, he isn't. And again, also with the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma, they're not as good looking that I think he comes galloping into town and everybody's like, ooh, wow, have you seen him? And he is such a super emotional sort of guy in the miniseries that he also doesn't really make sense to me. And again, so that sort of doesn't work, I think, for his character. Anyway, that's my 2 cents about that. And now there's a tractor going by. Oh man, what a day. And another one. Oh man, I have to be quick now because the kids won't grant me so much more time. Um, but anyway, so I've obviously finished watching Bridgerton, and I have many opinions about it, all of which are good. I think the season started out being more, I mean, in the first episode about Colin, and then immediately switched so that was really about her, which is maybe the only thing that I have to sort of nag about, is that it's unlike the other two seasons, which were very much about the couple. um, I mean, yes, it was a Daphne season and an Anthony season, but this one isn't so much about the couple. It is more about Penelope, which is okay. And I think it's lovely that she gets to be the leading lady. She who is a really good actress, and also someone who does not adhere to the, what's it called? Like a beauty standard that, culture and media have set for us. And she gets to be the sexy one, and she gets to be the one who wins the most eligible bachelor over, and who has always sort of had him. It's just that he didn't know. And, that is very fun. So I'm very happy about that. And I'm glad she gets so much time. But often it's more about her and the queen, or her and Cressida Cowper, who wears the most amazing dresses. It's hilarious. Then about her and Colin. And Colin also doesn't evolve like the others do. There's a tractor on our property. What is happening? Anyway, so I think it's a beautiful season. It's my favorite so far because I am a Colin Bridgerton fangirl a little bit. He's always been my favorite brother, even though the Anthony season was amazing. But I mean, the thing is, I've been living in my own little world, and just like Colin, maybe that's what we have in common, which I don't know that I'm a Colin in that regard, but it sort of fits now. And I've really binge listened all of the Podgerton Bridgecast podcast that I will link down below for you. And you can listen to it wherever. I think I've listened to it on Spotify. And that's really the right word, hate Colin. And I didn't know that there were people who hated Colin. And that's really the biggest problem I have with this podcast that I otherwise really enjoy. Not only don't they like him, but they hate him. They think he's a loser, and they think Penelope is sort of tragically in love with him. She could have picked someone else because obviously she's such a babe, but then she picked him, of all people. And I'm like, oh no, what? What is going on? I didn't know there were so many people out there who thought he was such a douchebag, which he is. But he's still so endearing. I still really, really like Colin. And I've been looking forward to his season, and I think it's the best one yet. And I think they're a perfect match, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know. And now please tell me how you feel about that. Whether you've also disliked him before, maybe that has changed over this season. That would be interesting. Or whether you've liked him and still like him, whether you think he evolved, because I don't think he really did evolve that much, other than he's been competitive and jealous of her success because he thinks he's a writer, and I think the show makes it obvious that she's a much better writer than he, but he is just, again, living in his own little world. Because apparently that's the privilege of the third-born son who doesn't have any responsibilities whatsoever. And I don't know. Or have you, I don't know, come around with him? Is he now more likable to you? Because I thought, what? You hate Colin? And that's really the biggest problem I have with this podcast, because they love Benedict, who they call Buster all the time. which is so fun. Um, but and I love Benedict too. But and Anthony, and I enjoy the entire cast. They're cast like an actual family. All of the families are cast like actual families, which is, I think, the strongest um, feat of the entire Bridgerton series is the casting. But that includes Colin. I think he's always been so fun. And yes, he's been talking about Greece all the time and his travels. And it's been annoying, but it's also been so funny how he never realized how nobody wants to hear it. And how he's just content in his own little world, you know. Um, I thought it was endearing rather than a character flaw. Anyway, so what did I want to say? Now I talked myself out of what I wanted to say. Um, oh yes, I remember. I remember. They have in the Bridgerton Bridgecast, they have different categories, which are very fun. That they use to kind of talk you through the respective episode, and then they have in this season now for season 3, they have a segment that's called Grecian Standard Time. And they count for like they will list how far into the episode Colin starts talking about his travels, and that is, I mean, kind of spot on. That is really hilarious and well deserved because he is, it's a kind of running gag, but it's called Grecian Standard Time, and I thought that was really funny. Anyway, so I'm gonna wrap it up now. I will record a German episode next. So, because another quarter is up, and I will record one German episode that takes me back through my knitting of the entire quarter. So from April to the end of June. And after that, I'll be back with another regular English podcast episode. So I'm looking forward to talking to you again. Maybe I'll also see you in the German episode. Who knows? Until then, happy knitting. Enjoy your summer or winter, wherever you are. And let me know what you think about Colin below, because I don't know that I want to know that more people don't like him, but I'm curious now. What's the deal? Okay. Take care, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.